a special edition of Into the Red Rabbit Hole with the Missing Indigenous edition. Tonight we're going to Angelique Benham on, and she is a very, very good and a native sister, and she's going to tell you about some of her experiences with possible abduction, and we're going to get into some of the identification of some of the native people that have been found, either disappearing without a trace, which is going to be probably a whole range, a host of subjects and stuff. So just hang in there, put your seatbelt on, and for the next 45 minutes to an hour, okay? So that being said, to all my viewers on YouTube, I give a big shout out, Twitch and Twitter. Hello. I hope everybody had a great day today. My viewers on Facebook, unfortunately, StreamYard is not making the connection tonight for some reason. So Facebook is going to be inoperative. But YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter are working. So we'll go with that. Anyway, being said, let me read the warnings here. Federal law distribute and exhibit portions of pictures, videotapes, and video discs on a copyright Fair Use Act, and is purposes of criticism, yeah, news reporting, yes, teaching, yes, and parody. Okay, which print of the copyright under Section 107 of the Fair Use Act. Whew, okay. Furthermore, Nighthawk High Strange's podcast channel and Nighthawk podcasts Into the Red Rabbit Hole, a Weekend Morning Brew, does claim fair use of any 17 USC subsection. All right, that's out of the way. Now, instead of my random parent here. Let's see if it will. Folks with StreamYard, so I apologize for any. Let's see. All right, here we go. I'm on StreamYard. You can do it. There we go. This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, not necessarily the only ones, to theories we will examine. Okay? Which I tell you that just because there's going to be a lot of mystery we're going to be, it's a shame. Recheck numbers. Dozens of indigenous people disappearing the reservations every month. Every month. I'm not talking years. I'm talking months, okay? In 1 month alone, last year, people, you know them as Navajo, missing young native people. Okay. What is happening? Why are young people turning up missing? That shouldn't be. Gonna bring Angelique on here and put this out. And by the way, Angelique, some of you may know a Bigfoot hunter and investigator and dabbles in the paranormal and pretty much everything else. And I'm going to bring her on. So let's give warm hello in the chat. And I'll pull your comments up in the chat. Okay. Good evening.
Hello.
How are we doing tonight?
Good. Good.
Okay. Let's get to the comments here. Let me come up, see who's out there. We've got Margie, Steven, good to see you. Chi Rio, good to see you. Joey Z's in the house. Look at that. We already got a full house out there. Okay. Okay. Susie, good to all. Okay. All right. Let's kick this off here. You know, I've been dabbling in a lot of different things lately with the paranormal, and one thing that always amazes me is the fact of how many people and children go missing every single day of the year. I think at last count last year, or no, I stand corrected, in 21 there was over 8 million children worldwide that just disappeared. 8 million. I mean, that's such an, you know, and they worry about numbers when it comes to illnesses and stuff like that. But where do 8 million children go to, you know? And, you know, when I say children, I mean anyone from 16 and under, you know, is what I mean. I'm not sure what the statistics meant. I think they meant 18 and under. But it's just amazing when you hear that number. You know? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my first thought is human trafficking. I mean, I want to be very careful what I say because I don't want to get you in trouble on YouTube, but I do believe that
Right.
human trafficking has ramped up actually throughout the ages, where we have thought society teaches that it ended with slavery, but it didn't. And I think it's ramped up since then. And there are many different, there seems to be a lot of focus on the innocent that are taken, and those that may be caught in situations where they can't be okay, I'm just going to get real here for a second. There's a lot of people that are in situations like on the reservation or something where they're used to not having to worry about a lot of outsiders coming in, and unfortunately they're not prepared in the mindset to realize that there could be somebody that is swooping in and taking people, maybe disguised as a sheep and, you know, wolf in sheep's clothing, if you can understand what I'm saying. I want to be careful what I say.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, one thing that I've noticed too in my research is a lot of people tend to ignore this. I call it a crisis. I mean, it is literally a crisis of indigenous nations all across, not just here in America. It's America, it's Canada, it's, you know, over, you know, in I mean, all the indigenous people are like, you know, they're just turning up missing, or they're found maybe, and I hate to say this, they're, you know.
You kind of cut out on me there for a minute, William. I didn't hear what that last sentence that you said.
Yeah, the first incident that I heard of is man young man that was mutilated and found deceased next to the side of a road. So, it almost seems like there's so many factors that are involved in the missing people. People on YouTube and other platforms and even TV that try to find missing people, but I don't realize the grand scale of the whole thing.
Yeah.
The grand scale is there are literally millions upon millions of people every year disappearing. For that human trafficking to go on, that's got to say something. Then you factor in all the weird stuff. Like the old movies of the serial, Hannah stuff like that kind of a theory to play. You got to figure, is drugs being a play and part of this? From very prominent or big problem on the reservation where my so I mean it's gangs and stuff like that. I mean there's so many different things. Now I know you had some interesting tidbits you want to share with the audience tonight. So a little bit of what's happened to you in the past with possible stuff.
Well, can you hear me okay, or am I cutting out really bad? I don't know if you can hear me or not. Thumbs up. Okay, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna assume you can hear me okay. So if you can't, give me a thumbs down and I'll stop. But I've had myself quite a few instances in my life where I think I came across human trafficking. I've had several incidences in my life where I've been followed. I've had, and not just followed in, the typical somebody driving behind you, literally somebody following me with their lights off on their vehicle, following me through the mountains and in deserted areas. And I've had an incident where I had a man literally follow me to 2 different towns one day while I was shopping. And it was something that really drew to my attention how easily we can be duped into falling prey to someone who is stalking, a predator. The first one that I'm going to talk about is the man that was following me around in a store. And he was a really good-looking native man that, of course, caught my attention. He was following me literally to every place I went in that store. He was following me. But what caught me off guard was there was something about him that didn't sit right with my spirit, I guess you'd say. He had very short, clean cut hair, and he was wearing like a business blazer. And that kind of caught me off guard because, I know a few men from the res that work in the corporate world. And I'm sure he that's what he was giving off, that impression. But what started bothering me is that wherever I went, he would follow me, and he would never talk to me. He would never make eye contact. He would just follow me. And I started getting the hair on the back of my neck, standing up and thinking, this isn't a good situation. I was there by myself. And so I just put my groceries back and went, I think I'm going to go to a different store. Well, I left. As I was leaving, this man came out of the store, and I saw him get into his vehicle, and then he was kind of prowling the parking lot while I was getting into my rig. And I remember thinking that as good looking as he was, had I been in my 20s, I would have gone, hey, I would have fallen for it. I would have talked to him. I would have, flirted with him, but there was just something that didn't sit well with me. Well, I left and I drove about 30 miles to the next town, and I decided to go ahead and go shopping at a different store. And I kind of forgot about the guy. And I went into the store, and I was in there about 10 minutes and realized he was in there as well. And there was no reason for him to have followed me to the next store. And that was when I started realizing that when it comes to our Native sisters, if this guy was a trafficker, he was bait. He was absolutely bait, because he was a good-looking man. And like I said, had I been in my 20s, had I been even in my early 30s, I would have engaged in something. I would have engaged in communicating with them. And I don't think that would have been a good thing, because if you think about how many of our women have gone missing, I think they're being lured. I think they're being lured by either somebody that they look at and immediately think that they can trust it, or somebody like a child that might come across looking like they're in trouble, that do you need some help? Here, let me help you find your mommy and daddy. And that happens so often. And that was a second incident that happened, was actually not to me, but one of my friends. And I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and Coeur d'Alene is considered like little Hollywood now. It's becoming a very high-end city where there's a lot of kind of upper class millionaires, actors, actresses. A lot of very famous people live here now. And so Coeur d'Alene is no longer considered just kind of a sort of a redneck town. It's actually becoming a very, like I said, a high-end city. And one of my friends had her little children in her shopping cart. And she had the baby sitting in the little seat. She had her toddler inside the cart riding around like little kids do. And then she had her little bit older child who was like, I would say 6 years old, maybe, walking along beside her. And as she was shopping, she started noticing that there was another family that was shopping in the same vicinity. And the little boy kept coming over and going, come play with me. Come play with me. And she pulled her son back and said, no, you stay here with mommy, And then a few minutes away, she started hearing the little boy, come over here, come play with me. And she said, then she started really looking at the child and realized that there seemed to be, and I'm not, please don't, I hope none of your listeners think that this is something that, is racist, because it's not. But she started realizing that the family was of mixed races. Like the mother was like blonde and blue-eyed. The father looked Asian, like maybe he'd come from, someplace, maybe Japan or something like that. And then the little boy looked like he was African American. And she was, that just caught her off guard, because she was thinking, oh, the little boy must be adopted. He just must be adopted. It's not a big deal. And that was where she started making her mistake. Was she was thinking, okay, her gut told her something was wrong, but she didn't listen to it, and she kept shopping. And then she started noticing that the mother was on this side and the father had circled around behind and was shopping behind her, while the little boy kept going, come over here and come play with me. Well, she did something, and it wasn't much. I mean, it was literally just within a second or two, she turned and looked away. And at that time, the little boy had her son by the arm and was pulling him over to where the mother was at. And so she stopped, let go of the cart with her other two children to grab her other son and pull him back. And when she did that, the father, I say, came around behind and started pushing her cart off with the children in it. And so she literally just yanked her little boy and ran after the cart and yanked it back from the guy and started screaming. It raised a big commotion, and they left. The family left. But she got a hold of the manager of the store, and she did what she could, to try to let them know what was going on. But they left. And this is literally in a store that is probably 100 yards from the apartment that I live in. So this is something that goes on in even the really good part of town, in the really nice part of town. This is stuff that goes on. And I think back to some of the different people that I've talked to that have gone to other countries. And I knew a guy who was from Germany, and he told me that Native women are very sought after where he was from. They were something that it was almost like they had an infatuation with our women. And he was an older man at the time that he told me this. He was probably, I would say, pushing 80 years old. He was old enough to be a grandfather, but he was still going over. He would go to Germany, and he openly admitted that he would go to Germany because there would be Native women over there that he could purchase. So this is something that, that guy, he got ran out of town, basically. Nobody liked him, but he probably went back to Germany. Yeah. But he was open about it. He was honest in saying, yeah, I go to Germany because that's where I can get Native American women. So it's kind of creepy. My last thing that happened to me was, I think, something that was aimed at me, and I barely got away. I was hiking up on a hiking trail about this time of the year, maybe a little bit more towards January, but I went snowshoeing by myself because I'm single, so I do a lot of stuff by myself. But I always take a weapon with me. I take a weapon, and I take bear spray with me at all times. And I went up on this trail, and I was only on this trail for maybe a mile up and realized that I didn't need my snowshoes. The snow was melting, and the snowshoes were just a pain. I didn't need them. So I went back to my car to take my snowshoes off. And this is a parking lot on the top of a mountain. It's called 4th of July Summit, outside of Coeur d'Alene, headed towards Montana on I-90. And I don't even mind saying this because I don't want anybody else having this happen to them. But when I got into that parking lot, I was the only person there. There were no other vehicles. There was nobody hiking the trail. I was the only person there. And so I put on I call it my bug out bag, but it's survival pack. I put a survival backpack on, and I had a Colt 45 that had a long barrel, and it was too cumbersome to attach to my hip. And I didn't want it, hitting my leg the whole time I was hiking. So I strung the holster through my bug out bag, so it hung right in front of my chest. And when I got back to the car, I was taking my snowshoes off, and this pickup, it was like a gunmetal gray. I'll never forget it. I thought it was a fish and game truck. I thought it looked like a game warden. And they came all the way across this big empty parking lot to come right up next to me. And I'm taking putting my poles away, and I'm looking at this truck, and I'm thinking, did I do something wrong? Am I not supposed to be here? Is this off limits during the winter? Or because there was nobody there? So I thought, I did something wrong. And I saw these two guys get out, and I expected them to be wearing fish and game uniforms with the coats with the emblems on the sleeve and stuff. And they weren't. They were dressed like they had just come out from behind a desk. One guy had a white polo shirt on, no coat. He had slacks on and a pair of I would say loafers. The other guy had he had a long sleeve shirt, but he had no coat on and just slacks. And that caught me off guard because it was January. Everybody wears coats. These guys got out of the vehicle without their coats on. And I turned and I looked at them, and I was always taught, make eye contact. You always make eye contact with them. That way, using your peripheral vision is okay at times, but you want them to know that you saw them. And so I looked directly at them, and they came around behind, and I kept watching them. And then they walked to the edge of the trailhead, which was literally maybe at the best, maybe 25, 30 feet from where I was at. It was real close to where the trailhead was. And they stopped, and they started acting real suspicious, like they were rubbing their necks and whispering to each other. And I'm still taking, some of my stuff off. And my first thought was, something's about ready to go down. Something's going down. I don't know what, but something's going down. And I turned to shove something out of the back. I don't remember what it was, but I took my eyes off of them just for a second. And when I did, I saw movement, and I turned and I looked at them, and both of them were running directly at me. And I instantly just turned, and all I did was I put my hand on the hog leg. And all I did was I turned and I looked at him and said, "Do we have a problem?" And they stopped, and they went, nope, we don't have a problem. And then they gave me a wide berth, and then they got in their truck and took off and squealed tires getting out of there, but they took off. And I could not see their license plate to be able to get their license plate down. And you know, to this day, I think that had I not had that weapon within view, I think I would have been a statistic. I don't know what they were going to do. I can only guess, but they were aiming right towards me. And I think there's a trail cam up there on that trail. I think that somebody is watching it, and I think that they're monitoring when they see somebody that goes in that is maybe by themselves or vulnerable or whatever, because there was no reason why those guys knew that I was there. There was no reason. And they came barreling straight for me from out of the blue. And so I think up on that trail, there's a trail cam that somebody's probably got hooked to their cell phone. So you're not safe in the woods. You're not safe even when when you're by yourself. You always make sure that you are protected in some way. And please, if you're a single woman, even if you're a single man, but if you're a single woman, please take self-defense. Please, please.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you are safe, to tell you the truth. That is just horrific to even think that that could even have happened. I guess I've been lucky over the years. Even as a child growing up, I kind of grew up where I was, kind of shunned anyways from society as a whole, because of, my family upbringing and stuff. And the fact that I was shy when I was a child, so I wasn't really outgoing, to even engage another child, more or less an adult. But there are so many horror stories out there of people being abducted. But my main concern right now is, there's so many things that could be going on with all the missing Indigenous people, from, and I hate to say this, we all think paranormal right away, because we're all in the field of paranormal research. We all think of wild animal attacks or alien abduction, or but I had a theory that I've been working on, and I've actually had a lot of progress trying to bring it to light, with the satanic cults that are in the areas.
Yes.
There are so many satanic cults around the globe, for that matter. But in the U.S. alone, they've probably done ceremony on every inch of land in North America. And I believe that all that darkness and evil is just laying here. And I think that our young people are being attracted to it, or enticed in some way to maybe join up with these groups, or be victims to these groups. They could very easily be a victim too. So, what's your thought on that?
Well, there again, I don't want to get you in trouble, but I know that in the area where I'm at, my thought is why North Idaho? Why are suddenly all the big name actors and actresses moving into North Idaho? And granted, it's a beautiful place. Don't get me wrong. When I moved here 10 years ago, it was wilderness within, a half a mile of the town. But I know, and this has always been my opinion of these people, who you look at some of these people, these actors and actresses who seem to be looking like they're 20 years old when they're really, pushing 60. But yet when you look at, okay, they've had surgery, Botox, all that other stuff, a really good doctor, but it makes you wonder if they haven't sold their soul, and I guess that was always my opinion, is it's almost like if you're willing to sell your soul to remain young, youthful, beautiful, popular, rich, wealthy, and have power, who are you willing to hurt to get that way? And,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
especially when I know that the whole, I don't even know if I can say it, and I hope I don't get in trouble, but I know that the whole adrenochrome thing is real. It is absolutely real, and it's legitimate. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's
Yep.
I do
Yeah.
know that blood has a lot to do with it, and I know that blood types have a lot to do with some of these missing people. And now I don't know about you, William, but I know that in my family, when one of the things that I learned in biology when I went to college was that uh, some of the indicators of being Native American are your blood type. And
Right.
a lot of us have type O, whether it be type O negative or type O positive. A lot of us are type O, and I know type O blood is, from what I understand, it can be used in place of other bloods that maybe might not be available. Right. As much, because I know during 911, I actually got a letter asking me to come in and give blood because I'm a type O negative. And so during the 9/11, they were looking for type O negatives to be able to help with the shortage of blood that they had for the victims. Whether or not that's something that could be a part of it or not, but boy, I'll tell you, rabbit holes are very easy to go down, and boy, it's you start noticing things, you start looking at things, and I don't want to say you let your imagination get the best of you, because I don't think that's what it is. I think your senses become alert and you start realizing that there's a whole lot more on this planet that we aren't aware of and we are not being told. So thanks to people like you, you know, a lot of this is coming out in the open, but yeah, it's a scary thing.
Well, you know, it's a shame when I've got to post. It's a real shame, and it upsets me when I've got to post on my podcast channel and on my pages and stuff, missing young people, and children. I mean, tonight we have a 4-year-old. Let me pop there. Robert is a girl. Your information up here. Okay, missing persons database. She is a 4-year-old missing girl. Okay, Native American, female, brown eyes, brown hair, basically like 3 foot tall. She was missing on, it looks like, God, it's so small I can't read it, but she's missing from the Flathead tribal area, the Flathead area. I think that is, yeah, that's a tribal police number on there, 2 tribal police. But you know, it's a shame that I've got to post things like this.
People are asking her name. They think it's Karen. It's not Karen.
Oh, what happened?
I think it's Karen Peterson.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe you could introduce her.
All right.
They're pretty.
Apparently, I've got my executive producer, my wife Tracy, came in and said people are confusing you with Karen Peterson. Everybody, this is Angelique Benham. Okay, Angelique Benham is basically a paranormal investigator and a Bigfoot researcher and investigator, and a Native American sister of mine that you know I have the utmost respect for. She has been through almost abducted herself a couple times. And
Yeah.
she's gone through already, but this is Angelique. Just so everybody knows. Getting back to the 4-year-old, I mean, it's terrible to think that we got a missing child. You know, no matter who they are, see a child missing, it tears me up. There's no reason for it. You know, I think, oh well, maybe a disgruntled parent figure took the child or something, or maybe the child abducted by passerby or picked up by a passerby and they're going to bring her back. It never happens that way. Okay, and there are horror stories out there. Just in the past, I believe it was in Kansas, in the 1930s or 40s, there was a guy living on a farm, and he had children from multiple states and brought them to his farm in Kansas and had them working on the farm as slave labor. He literally, the only reason we found out about him was because one of the children escaped and away. Apparently this guy actually killed some of the children too when they refused to work for him. Called him the Axe Man. These kids were living in swaller. They were living in like hog cages. Half a dozen kids at a time working on this farm. And we're talking kids that are no more than 10, like they were able to defend themselves, at that age. But, about that all the time. Just a couple, they it was handcuffed and chained inside a container, one of them big metal containers on a property here on the East Coast. I think it was in either Kentucky, Virginia, around that area. And she somehow she miraculously got found out. So, but when law enforcement showed up, they found her handcuffed and chained like a dog in a container. And apparently it did that with several women, young women, which apparently he had his way with. So, to see this kind of going on just tells me that something has opened up Pandora's box. Something evil has just encompassed this whole globe, this whole world that we're on. And and it's getting darker and darker. And if you notice a lot, you can correlate it too with a lot of the paranormal activity up too. Which makes you think, that there's got to be some type of supernatural connection, whether it's demons that are doing this and forcing people to do this, and really, there could be so many different things, but it's definitely something attached to the supernatural, I believe, that is at least responsible for 50% of the people that are missing. So,
absolutely.
I don't know what.
Absolutely.
So,
well,
but I'm glad. I'm glad you're safe. So,
yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, so am I. I know that after having been through some of the things that I've been through and learning the things that I've learned, one of the main things that I did do was put myself through 4 years of self-defense classes and courses. And boy, I'll tell you, one thing really important that a lot of times they don't teach you is looking for indicators in how people's body language is. and what they do when just before they go and attack. And I was really blessed in that the instructor that I had was also a psychologist for the prisons. So he was able to give us a lot of the what he called skull sessions just before we would learn our, go through the different things that we were learning and stuff. But when it comes to when you're with your children, when you're a single mother, when you're just a teenager or something, there's a lot of things that you should be doing that most people don't think about anymore. And one really big thing is when you're in public, stay off your phone. You're watching it.
Yeah.
You're distracted. You're not seeing who's coming up behind you. You're not watching things playing out, and you are an easy prey when you are on your phone. Stay off your phone. If you want to make people nervous, you can get on it. Take a picture. Take a couple pictures. They don't want to be seen in a picture. If you're going to get on your phone, take a picture. Another thing that I like to do. Pardon me?
Even pretend to take a picture.
Exactly. And I hope you don't mind me. Is it okay, William, if I share some of these things that I did learn through my experience? Okay. Another thing I said earlier is to be extremely bold. Never allow yourself to be the shy one. Do not be shy. If somebody is approaching you and saying, hey, can I just bum a smoke or something? No, look them right directly in the eye. And if you have to come across sounding like you're just not a very nice person, it's okay. In those situations, it's okay. Look them directly in the eye and be stronger than they are spiritually. Be the stronger spirit, because that might save your life. Another thing, when you're getting into your vehicle, most people have key fobs now. If you have a key fob, 2 clicks opens all your doors, right? 1 click opens just the driver door. So if you are by yourself and there isn't somebody getting in on the other side of your Jeep, or I say Jeep, sorry, my Jeep. If there isn't somebody getting in on the other side of your vehicle, only click that driver's side door, leave the rest locked. And as soon as you open that door, hit the lock button again, because you want to be able to get in and shut it and have it immediately be locked behind you. Make sure those windows are rolled up too. Do not leave a door unlocked while you're in the vehicle or getting into the vehicle. I knew somebody, she was a friend of the family, and actually she dated my son for a little while. She was parked in a dark parking garage, and she unlocked her car, got in, and didn't immediately lock the doors. And there was a guy waiting, crouched down behind her car that she didn't see. And as soon as she was inside, he opened that door and was in her passenger seat before she had enough time to even realize what was going on. Now, this was a very beautiful girl, and she ended up playing in some movies and stuff. She became an actress. I'm not going to say what her name is for privacy's sake, but she got the daylights beat out of her by this guy. He dragged her out of the car and beat the tar out of her. And so that was one of the things. And she too said, if you go to unlock your door, you lock it immediately. Do not sit in your vehicle with the doors unlocked. Also, if you can't and don't want to carry a weapon with you, my biggest suggestion is bear spray. You can get it at any hardware store. If you don't want to use, because I know that some people don't even want bear spray on, keep a can of really good hairspray or something that you can spray and aim for the eyes, because, yep, absolutely. And also, when it comes to keeping keys, you want to also make sure that whatever you have can't be used against you. And just like what he did, it doesn't take much. All it takes is one rake across the eyes. You've got a scratch that you can identify in a police lineup, and you've got DNA, already a DNA sample. And if you are able to get across their eyes, they're blinded for a second, you have time to get away. Another thing, please, when you're being followed by somebody, it's not acceptable anymore. Even if the person's attractive, it's not acceptable anymore. If somebody's following you, take a moment to look at what they're wearing, look them directly in the eyes, try to make note of everything about them that you can basically tell somebody if something happens, what their hair looked like, their beard looked like, their nose looked like, how tall they were, how old they looked. These are all really important things that if something happens, you may be the only one that can give that witness. You may be the only person that can do it. So make sure you keep a mental note of everything. And, if you're out in the woods and by yourself, of course, I hope you would carry bear spray and a weapon with you, because there's a lot of things out there that, probably would like to eat you. But make sure that you're aware of trail cams too. And just because you're out there, out in the wilderness, does not mean you're not being watched. So I don't know where William left. I hope he's still with us. He kind of vanished. So I don't know. Can you guys still hear me, or did everything shut down? If you can hear me, please let me know. I can't see the chat. Let me see. Okay, well, I'm just going to keep talking because I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. Can you guys hear me? Are you back with this, William?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm back. The powers that be don't like us talking about this stuff. So,
no, they don't.
Yeah, they don't like us talking stuff. And it's a damn shame too. But yeah, I'm probably gonna have to cut this a little short. But we're gonna have part 2 of this again. We're gonna have part 2 where we're gonna have you and Karen on.
Oh, good.
And talk a little bit more about this. I just, some of the main things I want to make sure everybody knows is if you're by yourself, make it look like you're positive, like you have confidence in being alone.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
The way you carry yourself physically is going to either attract or deter somebody from coming at you. It's just like a predator animal out in the wild. Okay.
Yes.
Same theory. Okay. Also, when you park and you're by yourself, park by light. Park by someplace that's lit up.
Yes.
Make sure if you're going from the car to your house or a car to a motel room, that you have your key ready in your hand before you even get out of the car. Get out of the car. And the same thing when going to your car, going from the house to the car. Make sure you have that key ready, okay, that you can get in right away. You hear so many horror stories of people being mugged when they're reaching for their keys, and you don't want that to happen. Okay.
Absolutely.
Another thing too, I noticed somebody in the chat when Melissa said something about pepper spray. I have had so many people tell me that when people use pepper spray, they don't think of the wind, okay,
It comes
or
back
the
at
air
you.
circulation.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the dangerous thing about pepper spray. Now I know Melissa is ex-military, so you know she'll be okay with the pepper spray. But for those of you that are out there, I suggest you go to some professional and have them train you on how to do pepper spray. Okay, if you
Yes.
don't know how
Yes.
to do it, you know, that'd be my suggestion.
Yes.
Secondly, don't leave your kids unattended. Ever.
No.
Ever.
No.
Not even for a second. Not even if
Nope.
you're running into the store to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Nope.
Never
Nope.
leave your children unattended. Okay?
Nope.
Please. If you hear
Nope.
me, hear that. Okay? Because the child's life you may save may be your own child. Okay? So that being said, you know, it's been a great show tonight. I'm going to put these other pictures back up here for everybody to see. I'm going to give everybody time to actually read the postings and stuff that I put up for these Indigenous young people that are missing, and hopefully we can help solve some of the mystery. Angelique, it's been great having you. You can hang on if you want, and if you want to hang out and look at some of these pictures again too, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I'll hang out.
Here's one thing I always had. This is just one theory I always had when people go missing and you know, hiking and camping and stuff. And you're probably going to get a kick out of it, but it's actually something that I've always thought, you know, was the whole alien abduction thing. Yeah.
Well,
you know, think about it.
You never know. It could very well be. But yeah, no.
Okay, here's a young man. Here's a young man that's missing. It's been a red alert put out. Yearby. Okay. He is 5'8", 160 pounds. He was missing from the the Muskogee Creek, Choctaw Nation, Seminole Nation area. You know, no reason for it. Here's a bright young man. You know, again, it tears me up to think that it could be my grandson. You know, for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it really does tear me up. You know, but I'm going to give you all a chance to read that. I'm going to get the comments off the bottom so we can read the whole thing.
Hey, William.
Yeah.
Can I add one more hint? Somebody said something about headlights. Someone said something about headlights. I didn't get a chance to read it all, but it reminded me of something really important. If you're ever thinking that you are by yourself on a deserted highway, if you get a feeling that you might be being followed, remember one very important thing. I had someone stalked me for about 8 years, and he openly told me that he would turn his headlights off and follow my car using my taillights as his guide going through curves and things like that. I didn't realize that he was following me, and I had led him right back to my house. One thing that I learned since then is that if you're on a straight stretch in the middle of the dark and you don't see a vehicle behind you because it's too dark, just pretend like a deer ran out in front of you and slam on the brakes. Watch your rear view mirror. Whoever it is has to slam on their brakes or they're going to hit you. You're going to see those brake lights come on and you're going to know that you're being followed. So That's how I found out that he was following me. Is I slammed on my brakes and I saw those two little brake lights come on and went, uh-oh, and I was able to call in. So yeah, it's little tricks like that you learn when you've had some of this stuff happen. But yeah, just be very, very constantly aware of your surroundings. Never let your guard down. Especially when there's children, especially around your children.
Yeah. Because that little 4-year-old girl could be somebody's granddaughter or somebody's daughter, or great granddaughter. And here's a young lady that's missing. She has a long bio list on this, so I'm going to pull it up here in a second. But Morning Dawn is her name. And, here again, probably maybe 13, 14 years old, guessing. That's just a guess right now until I bring up her bio.
Yeah.
But it's terrible. They shouldn't be missing. North Battleford, Saskatchewan. She is a 15-year-old from British Columbia. Saskatchewan. Okay. She was missing Battleford Comprehensive High School on March 17th, 2023 at approximately 2 p.m. Any tips or anything, you can call the Saskatchewan Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-TIPS or 8477. 1-800-222-8477. Again, a beautiful, beautiful young lady, that, needs to be found. All of these young people need to be found. And until we do, being a military vet, I take it a personal pride in trying to help out the younger generation. And if I can do it by posting this and talking about it periodically, then I'm going to do it with every breath that I've got in my body. As long as I'm able to take a breath, I will fight for my Indigenous brothers and sisters. That's just the way I am. That's the way I was raised. So, that being said, let's just remember that, Indigenous culture is literally starting to become a dying culture. Okay, not too many young people are taking up the sword and and the spear and wanting to learn the old ways. In fact, I have more non-native people wanting to request learning more of the traditional ways back in the old days of my ancestors from me than I do my own people. It's sad, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they are Indigenous people. And as such, we need to cherish that part of our culture here in America. It's what America is all about, before Columbus, before Keith Erickson, the Vikings, before the Chinese came here on the West Coast, before all of them came here, the Indigenous people in this area had over 500 nations. 500 nations. And now we've got maybe 300.
Yeah.
So 200 nations, 200 nations of 200 Oyate nations have disappeared since Columbus.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for more of our people to disappear.
One of the things that makes what I do for a living, I process antique legal documents from antiquity. Okay. And basically from the beginning of each county seat in the United States to modern times, my job is to process usually real estate documents.
Right. Right.
Most of them are from the reservations. So I can tell you some horrific legal documents that I've read that I've literally sat at my desk and cried over some of these people and these families. A lot of them, one of them that I've worked with lately was out of the Choctaw Chickasaw nations, and working with what they call the 5 civilized tribes of the Choctaw Chickasaw, and what they went through after the Trail of Tears, and the whole boarding school experience, and the whole with their allotments that they had to do some horrible things to try to keep their own lands, and would lose it. You know, it was all set up. There was no way. The treaties were meant to be broken. And I could sit for hours and tell you some of the things that I've read in documents, from murders and everything else that have happened to our people. And it makes it really difficult when you have to just leave it behind at the end of the day. I do a lot of smudging.
Yeah.
Spend a lot of time in the woods trying to balance myself. But yeah, it's tough. But I do also want to thank you too for your service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You know, and I want to thank you, Angelique, for coming on here and being brave enough to talk about your encounters, and brave enough to endure, you know, what you go through every day. You know, I mean, you know, helping out, and even the paranormal investigations and stuff. You know, I look forward to hearing from you and your future endeavors. So,
Well, thank you.
I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everybody in the chat. It's been an awesome podcast, except for the technical glitches that keep on happening whenever we talk about sensitive subjects. It just seems like they like to hit this channel a lot and just turn off that switch. So, but
any truth.
You know, yeah, exactly. Any light against the darkness is what the problem is. If they see anybody doing anything good and for the light to fight the darkness, they will stop it. They will shut it down.
Yep.
You know, and it's just a thing I've learned to deal with. So, and I just keep on coming back at them. So I'm like that old grizzly bear that can only half see and is always hungry. You know, you broke it with a stick, think it can't see you, and it can see you out of the one good eye, and then it tears you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you again, Angelique. It's been great talking to you, and it's been great having you on. And we'll have you on again on the second half of this podcast, okay?
All right. I look forward to it. Thank you, William. And I appreciate what you're doing, not just for your listeners and your viewers, but also for our people. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Me takuya. Oyasin.
Yeah. Me takuya oyasin. Yeah. All my relations. Yeah. Oh. All right, sister. You take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Well, everybody, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Ooh, that's awful close. Anyways, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, okay? And I hope some of this helps. You know, we have so many missing Indigenous people from America, you know, the United States, and Canada. And then you throw South America in with it, and it's tragic. The indigenous cultures are dying, and people are missing. And I think we need to hold them in our prayers, hold them in our thoughts. And whenever you can help out, you know, please do. Okay. So with all the glitches tonight, we still got the word out. You know, they can only silence it for so long. and then the truth comes out. So as always, I appreciate each and every one of you as being here. You're my mitaku yasin, you're my relations. Okay. You're my oyate, my nation. Okay. And Weirdo Warriors are family. So, and you're all part of the Weirdo Warrior family. So if you can, like, heart, and share this out. I'm going to replay it on Facebook because unfortunately Facebook wouldn't let us put it up tonight for some reason. So I'm going to replay it tonight on Facebook. If anybody missed any part of it, they can watch it back. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for being here. It's been great. Hopefully we can get to the bottom of this. There's so many variables that this could be with missing Indigenous people and missing people in general. Look at Dave Pilates. He's been dealing with this for a good number of years, with national parks involved in it and state parks involved in it, and other government facilities involved in it. Makes you wonder. It makes you wonder why people are missing. And it's not just the occasional, couple people here and there. We're talking millions of people every year. Millions. So with that being said, we're going to be trying to broadcast the second part of this, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. Okay. I will let everybody know. Until then, I'll see you all Friday night. Okay. Where we're going to go deep into the rabbit hole. I'll see you all then. Bye-bye. And I need a cup of coffee because that was stressful.